And now for something totally different. Speed meets study inside Toyota Gazoo race car driver Nathi Msimanga's dual world. A very good morning to you. Welcome to the program.
Hello, thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. Have I said that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Toyota
Toyota Gazoo Racing.
Gazoo. What is that? What does Gazoo mean?
Actually, I don't know, but I do know it originates from like Japan because Toyota is Japanese, so it is some sort of a performance for like a German, oh not German, sorry, Japanese word for some sort of performance division in Toyota.
Okay. You're a local boy, uh, and you've kind of ventured into a space. Look, lots of young men and young boys, I think, yearn to be racing drivers. They have this passion for cars and speed. You're one of the few that has kind of managed to break boundaries and go beyond. What sparked your passion for racing, and how did your journey with Toyota begin?
So what sparked my journey to becoming a racing driver? Because I always loved cars like everyone else in the country, and I wanted to get behind the wheel as soon as I could. But obviously, due to laws, you can't drive until the age of about 17, which are learners. So I was trying, the best I could to drive, which at that time was doing rental go karts. I spent most of my weekends with my dad trying to, beg him to let me, go to track and just get, a few laps in, you know, and yeah, thanks to my dad, he found a team that does professional racing in Pretoria, Zorkops Raceway. And yeah, from there, I told my dad, like, listen, this is what I want to do professionally. And yeah, also thanks to help of like, at the time, the local track that I used to go to back in Randburg, they kind of knew a few people in the motorsport world and they connected my dad with the team. And then from there, and actually progressed from, doing rentals at the, malls and, something like that to something more professional. And yeah, I spend all my weekends, driving and yeah, sooner or later progress into where I'm at today. And then with Toyota, so I've been racing for since 2016. And a couple of years ago in 2023, Toyota reached out to me asking me to come drive for them in their South African Touring Car Championship. So obviously I said yes because before I was driving a much slower car, but obviously I want to progress into something a bit faster. Hopefully something will set me up for my future overseas.
You are currently studying at university as well.
Yes, I am.
What are you studying, and how do you see the overlap between your academic and your racing world?
So I'm currently studying mechanical engineering at WITS. That's actually where I'm at right now. And I think the reason why I chose to do a degree like that is because, as much as I love cars, driving cars, I also love learning, understanding the fundamentals of how a car works, what certain things do, how to improve a car. Uh, so I think for me, the overlap is that I love cars through and throughout. So any chance I have to, learn about the car, drive a car, fix a car, build a car, I'm there for it. So I think the degree kind of shows my passion for cars because this degree, I'm planning on using something automotive space in the future. So I think that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
What's a day like, a day in your life like, juggling your studies and obviously track time as well?
Well, actually, today in the morning I went to the track, so I had to miss, the first lesson in the morning today. So it all starts with late nights and early morning. So late nights, as in yesterday, I had to study, kind of catch up or work ahead for the lesson that I missed this morning. Go to the track today. Um, Obviously driving, slowing my uniform, come back to school today, get the notes from friends because obviously friends know that I race. So I get notes from them, then go home later today, catch up, cross reference the notes, and yeah. So it's always late nights and early mornings. Man, most of my weekends are all spent, studying. So that's the life that chose me.
That you chose, obviously.
Yeah,
you made
I think
you
it chose
made
me.
you made an informed decision there. Talk to us about a moment in your life regarding your racing career, which has been absolutely unforgettable, and why.
A moment. I think for
The most
me,
outstanding moment. There must be plenty, but one of the most outstanding moments.
one of the outstanding moments. I think for me, uh, it was my debut race with Toyota in 2023. The first time I raced with them, it was a Kailami racetrack, which is one of my favorite tracks ever. And I was a bit nervous because leading up to the race, Kailami was a new track for me, as well as also I didn't have much time in the car. And on my first race, I finished third, which was quite impressive. So I think that was quite a special one for me.
Good on you, and I have no doubt in my mind you're going to have lots more special moments in your life as far as your racing career is concerned. What do you find more nerve wracking, lining up for the start of a race or waiting for the exam results?
I would definitely say lining up for the start of the race. Like, doesn't matter where you're starting first, last, third, second. The anxiety builds the same way every single time. I don't know what it is, but I still get that buzz every single time I would start a race. 'Cause obviously, you're anxious to do well. You want to do well, a race you can never really know what's gonna happen.
How do your friends, new friends, classmates, other people at uni react when they hear that you are a professional a racing car driver?
I think to most of them that they don't really believe it. You say to someone that you're a racing driver, they'd be like, "Oh, you tell me you race." They think about athletics. Something even more common. I think you think athletics, you know, or they think like maybe doing drag racing or something as opposed to that. So when you tell them, do you know it's professional track racing? They'd be like, "Is it like F1?" And you have to kind of explain it's not exactly like F1, but still similar. Different categories. So yeah.
Racing is not only getting behind the wheel in a racing car and driving as fast as you possibly can to win the race. There's a lot of planning involved. There's a lot of physical training, physical and mental training involved as well. There's strategy in place as well before you start a race with your team. It's not immediately before you start the race, but I should imagine a few days and a few hours that you start analyzing the track, the car that you're going to be using, your mental frame of mind, the other racing drivers that are going to be in the race as well. So lots of strategy and preparation needs to be in place. How do you prepare for all of that?
So in terms of, I think, sorry about the network, it's starting to cut a bit, but in preparation, it goes weeks in advance. Like today, the team is getting the car prepped for the race in 2 weeks' time in PE. So the car needs to have a few tweaks into the setup to to be as fast as possible for the next race. No, obviously the team fixed a few things from the car from the previous race, so the car they start preparing for the next race as much as tweaks in advance, as well as also going through over notes. For the track, obviously I've driven the track that I'm racing in PE, so then the team and I would go back and have a look at the notes from the previous years, look at the footage and see, okay, this is what we did last time, this is where we went wrong, this is where we need to improve. So we 2 weeks a week before we are going over the notes, the car setup sheet for the next race, to make sure that
What
when you
keeps you
arrive.
Mhm.
Sorry.
What keeps you motivated when things get overwhelming? Obviously, being involved in a sport like this, but I think it's probably the same for all sport, but particularly racing. You need to be in peak mental performance. How do you prepare for it? Do you have a coach that you talk to about where your headspace is at? Because if not, you could be involved in a crash, you could be badly injured. The crash may result in a fatality. So, all of that obviously must be uppermost in your mind. And you need to your thinking needs to be beyond all of that.
Yeah, nowadays I don't have a coach or someone to talk to, but when I was younger, I did have someone. So I've kind of used what they've taught me over the years to implement that into my my mental preparation for a race, or even during a race something happens, and the two main things he taught me was the things that the controllables and uncontrollables. And if you spend all your time and energy, your mental thoughts on non-controllables, you end up kind of spiraling out of control, and having emotions kind of be all over the place and not able to focus. So what he taught me was that you must always, don't think about the uncontrollables, because uncontrollables can happen to anyone at any time on and off the racetrack. But if you control what you can, which is how you drive, how you eat, how you sleep, how you prepare for the race, how much mental preparation and notes you do, and how ready you feel. If you can control those things and do the ability, then you shouldn't worry about anything else. So, yeah, it is something that I did learn over time with the coaches I did have in the previous years, and I'm using what they've taught me and implementing that every day to make sure that when a race comes or whatever situation happens, I'm gonna try my best to tackle it, and sorry about that, and have a good mental overview or a good approach to any situation.
Okay, so it's all about focus, 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 and to get rid of
Yes.
thinking. But very especially in a sport that you're involved in. I mean, when we look at soccer, we look at cricket and all of those type of mainstream sports. Those
Yes.
guys have a coach 24/7, so to speak. They have
Yes.
coaches with them all of the time. Why is it that you don't, even though you've had a coach in the past, in the type of work you're in, the type of sport you're involved in? Very especially, it's viewed as a dangerous sport. You should be having a coach. Has Toyota not provided you with a coach, or is there not anyone within the community, your community, who could play that role for you?
No, we did have a coach last year, but obviously we're just restructuring at the moment. So there will probably be a coach sometime this year, hopefully sooner than later. So but last year and the years before we did have a coach who obviously helps us, but that more in terms of the driving aspect of it. So we had a coach that helped us analyze the data after every session, write down notes, how to improve the car, gave feedback to engineers onto how to improve the setup of the car. So that was a lot last year. This year we are still restructuring, but we are going to get a coach. Someone's going to help us, to improve our driving and extract as much tense as possible per lap to make sure we, stay at the front of the grid.
The type of sport you're involved in is very taxing mentally, physically, and otherwise, but more mentally. Uh, what keeps you grounded when you become overwhelmed? And you find that motivation levels are dipping as well.
I think it kind of also goes back to the training that I got from previous years, from previous coaches that I've had. I've had a psychiatrist before in the past. I've had a fitness coach. So I kind of I've dealt with certain times when I've been super stressed and overwhelmed, and at the time obviously I was younger, but I also had guidance from people who are experts in those fields, and again I use their training to and what the words they've told me, and I use that to kind of calm myself down. But also on a race weekend, luckily I'm surrounded by a great team, as well as obviously family, who kind of help me stay focused and stay at the task at hand, which is obviously to do well. So even if you have a bad race one, or you have a bad qualifying, one race will determine the next one or your future. So always having just being able to deal with whatever issue happened, kind of look at it, analyze, and see where went wrong, but then use that mistake and for the next race, improve on it and make sure you don't do the same mistake. So just gotta keep aiming forward, because once you start looking back, you might make up the same mistake, or you might end up going backwards. So it's all about just having tunnel vision and keep going forward. After an accident, crash, bad qualifying, bad race, mistake, doesn't matter. You just gotta keep aiming forward.
Do you see yourself continuing with both careers long term, or do you think that one of the careers will eventually take the lead?
I think honestly, I see myself doing both careers longer. But obviously, I think my main focus is mainly towards racing, because racing is like any sport. You need to do while you're still young. But the engineering degree also, it's something I'm gonna use in my future. I have plans for it, but yeah, right now I'm just trying to maximize my youth and kind of get as much done as possible to set
What's
myself up
the
for the future.
what is the lifespan of a racing car driver? And I think of Hamilton. He was pretty young when he started out. And
Yeah.
I guess there's going to be a time when he's going to have to stop racing because it's very, very strenuous. We all know mentally and physically. So, who is your hero, your racing hero?
Racing here is Lewis Hamilton. I look up to
Oh,
him.
wow.
I love what everything he does. Yeah, so and also
Oh, so
he is probably on
I
the
took
older
the right
side.
name there.
You took the right name. Yes, he is probably on the second oldest person on the F1 grid, but you can see he's very motivated to still win. And even though he is probably over the average racing driver, he is still pushing. So which obviously takes a lot of mental strain and physical strain, but he's still going. So I look at someone like him and be like, damn, he's still pushing and performing amongst the younger guys. So I look at what he does and how he does and the continuous effort he does to keep doing well. And I want to kind of take what he does and do it to myself and keep pushing no matter what.
So, whom do you think eventually, when he reaches his sell by date, whom do you think is going to take over? Who are the young, fiery racers that you see that are going to be taking that position eventually, taking over from Lewis Hamilton?
Well, that's a difficult one because if you look at the world of Formula One, there is like a very specific hierarchy you have to follow to get F1. And majority of the drivers that go into the F1 seat are drivers that have done well or won the championship in Formula Two. So, it all really depends. If Lewis Hamilton retires next year, it could be the junior driver from Ferrari. But then if he retires in 3 years' time, it could be maybe this year's F2 champion or next year's F2 champion. So it all really depends on who is next in the junior teams. That's how they work in F1.
Okay, we're going to have to wrap up now.
No problem.
What needs to be done in your career, in your racing career at this point in time? What do you still need to do to get to the space of becoming a Formula One racing driver? And is that perhaps your ultimate dream?
So my ultimate dream isn't F1. I prefer GT racing because Formula racing is open wheels. So like on F1 cars, open wheels. That's what they call Formula racing. So I am aimed towards GT racing, which is what more or less what I race now, which is like a car that's been built to race. And the series I want to race overseas in Europe called DTM and World Endurance Championship. So that's the goal. And for me to get there, my next goal is to relocate overseas and start racing on the international stage now because I've raced nationally in South Africa for my whole life. So now the next move is to gather sponsorship, gather support, and yeah, make the leap overseas.
Good luck. We're holding thumbs for you. We're very proud of you. And finally, what advice would you give to other young South Africans who want to chase more than one dream at the same time and possibly want to enter the space of racing? What sort of advice would you give them? What do they need to think about before that they enter that arena?
I think the main thing is that in terms of motorsport in South Africa is very very hidden. It has very poor publicity, very poor PR. Like it's not seen. It doesn't have a good TV coverage at all. So to people that want to get into the motorsport things, you have to really actively look. And when you look, you must speak to people because there's nothing online, about racing. There's nothing, there's no Facebook pages or call lines. You have to go to people and kind of beg. I think it's one of those things we have to put pride aside and be able to go speak to 10 people to get 10 no's and then still try the 11th person and still get a no and then the 12th person and possibly get a further discussion. So to people that want to do racing, I always tell to people that it's never, everything's very hidden and you have to go looking for it and you have to be able to take no's and don't let that discourage you from making progress. Because even with me, I'm doing something that no one has done in my family, so I have to go and find this. Okay, can this work? No, it doesn't. This doesn't work. And then also with doing many careers or doing two very difficult careers is that again people tell me not to do it. People always advise me no, do this rather this is not common, but I have a dream, and I would rather, push until the end and knowing that I tried something as opposed to, taking the easier route and then, in a couple of years' time, I regret not pursuing this opportunity that I have at a young age. So, I'm motivated. I believe that I have what it takes, and yeah, and if people tell me no, I'll still keep pushing until I get it right.
Well, good on you. Wish you lots and lots of success going forward. We will looking out for you on the racetracks, and God bless. Keep safe. Thank you for being with us on the show this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is exactly 12 o'clock. This is the mid-morning show. We're moving along, and our next guest is Palesa Nkabinde. But before we get to her, let's take a listen to some news from our sponsors.